I discovered my best friend was dating my dad. If someone had told me this story before it happened to me, I would have laughed in their face. I would have said it sounded like the plot of a bad soap opera, the kind of drama that only exists on TV. But it wasn't. It was my life, my reality, my nightmare. At the time, I was 19, just starting my first year of college. I was still living at home with my parents and my younger brother. We lived in a small town where everybody knew each other, and nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary. My life had always been stable, safe, predictable. And part of that stability came from my best friend, Camilla. She had been in my life since we were 9 years old. We grew up side by side, spending afternoons at each other's houses, trading secrets, crying over stupid crushes, laughing until our stomachs hurt. She was the sister I never had, the one person outside my family I trusted with my whole heart. If I was happy, I wanted her to know. If I was broken, she was the first person I called. My dad, on the other hand, was someone I loved but didn't always understand. He wasn't cold exactly, but he was distant, serious, always busy with work. He was respected by everyone, admired for his career, and I had grown up seeing him more as a figure of authority than someone I could really connect with. He was my dad, but he was also untouchable, like he belonged to another world. And maybe that's why I didn't pay enough attention when things started to change. It began so subtly that I almost convinced myself I was imagining it. Camilla would come over, just like always, but I noticed little things. The way she dressed up more when she came to my house. The way she lingered in the kitchen if my dad happened to walk in. The way she laughed a little too hard at his dry jokes. One night at dinner, she joked about how hard it was to find guys her age who were mature enough to listen. My dad smirked and said, "Maybe you're looking in the wrong places." Everyone else laughed, but I froze. It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. The way their eyes met, as if there was a conversation happening between them that no one else could hear. I shook it off. Told myself I was paranoid. They were just being friendly. That's all. But the feeling stuck. It dug into me like a splinter I couldn't pull out. Then one afternoon, everything shattered. A class had been canceled at the university, so I came home earlier than expected. I didn't text my mom, didn't call anyone. I just walked in, thinking I'd surprise her with coffee later. The house was quiet, but I heard faint laughter coming from the living room. I thought maybe my dad was on a call, but when I turned the corner, I saw them. Camilla and my father, sitting far too close together on the couch. Her hand resting on his, their bodies angled toward each other. They weren't even trying to hide the electricity in the air. And then, before my brain could even process what I was seeing, he leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a clumsy accident or a misread signal. It was deliberate, slow, a kiss that said this wasn't the first time. My chest caved in. My lungs refused to work. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to drag her out of my house and demand answers. But I couldn't move. I was frozen, watching the two people I trusted most betray me in the most unforgivable way. I stumbled back upstairs without making a sound, locked my bedroom door, and collapsed. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't even cry at first. I just sat there shaking, feeling like my entire world had been ripped apart in a single instant. That night, I didn't say a word. I ate dinner with my mom like everything was normal, even though the image of them on the couch burned behind my eyes. How could I tell her? How could I be the one to destroy her world with the truth? My dad was betraying her, and my best friend, her second daughter, the girl she'd welcomed into our home for years, was the one he was betraying her with. I thought maybe if I ignored it, it would stop. Maybe it was a one-time mistake. Maybe I was overreacting. But no, I wasn't. They got bolder. My dad started coming home late with flimsy excuses. Camilla disappeared on the same nights, telling me she was busy or with family. When I confronted her with hints, she just laughed it off, changed the subject, pretended nothing was wrong. But I knew. The silence was eating me alive. Finally, I snapped. One afternoon, I invited her over like nothing had changed. We went up to my room like old times. She sat on my bed, scrolling on her phone, smiling at me like she was still my friend. And I asked her, "How long has it been?" Her head shot up. For a second, she played dumb, acted confused. But my face told her I already knew the truth. I wasn't backing down. She sighed, crossed her arms, and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I felt tears burn behind my eyes, but my voice came out sharp, furious. "Don't play games with me. I saw you. I saw both of you." And then, for the first time, she dropped the act. Her lips curved into a small, unapologetic smile. She didn't deny it. She didn't beg for forgiveness. She just shrugged. "What did you expect?" she said softly, almost smug. "Your dad is incredible. Smart, successful, mature. He's not like the boys you've been wasting your time with." I stared at her, numb, my heart splitting in ways I didn't know were possible. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. And in that moment, I knew something with absolute clarity. The girl I thought was my sister, my safe place, my best friend. She was gone. The days after that were unbearable. I avoided her, stopped answering her messages, but it didn't matter. The damage was already done. My dad kept acting like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't seen him kiss my best friend in our living room. I stopped being able to concentrate at school. Everything I did felt hollow, meaningless. My chest hurt constantly, like my heart was bruised from the inside. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. And the worst part wasn't even what I saw that day. The worst part was knowing this was only the beginning. That what I had stumbled onto was just the surface of something much darker. Something that would destroy everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and family. After confronting Camilla, I thought maybe things would change. Maybe she'd realize what she was doing and stop. Maybe my dad would feel guilty and end it before it went too far. I clung to that hope because the alternative was too painful to imagine. But instead of ending, it got worse. She stopped pretending with me. When we saw each other at school or in town, she no longer tried to act like my best friend. She didn't even look ashamed. It was like she had already decided I was no longer a part of her life. And my dad. He became colder. Not openly cruel, but more distant than ever. When I caught his eyes at the dinner table, I sometimes saw something sharp there, like he was daring me to say something. I lived in silence, but inside I was screaming every single day. The weight of what I knew was unbearable. Every time I sat across from my mom at breakfast, watching her smile and talk about ordinary things, I felt sick. She had no idea her husband was betraying her with the girl she'd practically raised as a daughter. I wanted to tell her, but how could I? How do you destroy someone you love with the truth? The breaking point came one night in October. I had been lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard a car pull up outside. I checked the time. Almost midnight. My dad was supposed to be on a business trip. I froze. Something inside me told me to look. I pulled my curtain back just a little, just enough to see the driveway. And there they were, Camilla, getting out of my dad's car. He leaned over the console, kissed her quickly, and she giggled before running up the street, her hair bouncing under the streetlight. He waited until she disappeared, then parked like nothing had happened. I dropped the curtain and collapsed against the wall, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. It wasn't just an affair. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was real. They were together, and I was the only one in the world who knew. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. The next morning, while my dad was at work, I sat down at the kitchen table with my mom. My hands shook so badly I almost spilled the coffee I was holding. She noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice soft but worried. And the words just spilled out of me. I told her everything. The night I came home early, the kiss on the couch, Camilla's smug confession, what I'd seen from my window. Every detail I had bottled up for weeks came pouring out like poison I couldn't hold anymore. At first, she just stared at me, her face blank, as if she couldn't process what I was saying. Then she laughed. Short, nervous, disbelieving. "That's ridiculous," she said. "Camilla? She's just a girl. She's been like a daughter to us." But when she saw my tears, saw the way my hands were trembling, her face changed. She knew I wasn't lying. The silence that followed was worse than her disbelief. She just sat there, staring at the table, her knuckles white around her coffee mug. Finally, in a voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it, she whispered, "I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to admit it." Hearing her say that broke me all over again, because it meant I hadn't just lost my best friend. I was about to watch my family fall apart. That evening, when my dad came home, she didn't wait. She confronted him in the kitchen, her voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. I stood at the top of the stairs, listening to every word. She accused him. He denied it at first, of course. He called me confused, said I had misinterpreted things. But my mom wouldn't let him gaslight her. She demanded the truth. And finally, after nearly an hour of shouting and crying, he admitted it. He admitted he was seeing Camilla. The sound that came out of my mom wasn't human. It was raw, guttural, like her soul had been ripped out of her body. She sobbed in a way I had never heard before, and I'll never forget it. I wanted to run down the stairs, to scream at him, to throw something, but my legs wouldn't move. I was frozen again, just like the day I first saw them. That night, my mom locked herself in her room and didn't come out. My dad slept on the couch, silent, expressionless, as if he had already detached himself from us. And me? I lay awake in my bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how everything had fallen apart so fast. Just weeks ago, Camilla and I were laughing together. My parents were sitting across from each other at dinner. My life was normal, safe. Now my mom was broken, my dad was a stranger, and my best friend had become the enemy. The days that followed were chaos. My mom couldn't look at my dad without crying. My brother, too young to understand the full truth, kept asking why everyone was so angry. My dad moved through the house like a ghost, cold and distant, as if none of us mattered anymore. And then the final betrayal came. One afternoon when I came home from class, I saw them. Not in the house, not hidden in the shadows, but out in the open. My dad and Camilla, together, walking through town in broad daylight, hand in hand. He wasn't hiding it anymore. She wasn't hiding it anymore. The secrecy, the lies, the whispered excuses. It was all over. They didn't care who saw. They didn't care what it did to me, to my mom, to our family. I stood on the sidewalk, frozen, as people around me started whispering. The looks on their faces said it all. Shock, judgment, pity. And then Camilla saw me. She didn't look guilty. She didn't look ashamed. She just smiled. That same smug, unapologetic smile I had seen in my bedroom weeks before. And in that moment, I realized something I'll never forget. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. That day in town, nothing was the same. People whispered everywhere I went. At the grocery store, at school, even at church. They all knew. Some pitied me. Some looked at me with disgust. But all of them had the same thought written on their faces. That's the girl whose best friend is dating her father. I felt like my whole identity had been reduced to that single humiliating truth. My mom could barely leave the house. She was humiliated, betrayed, and broken all at once. She tried to put on a brave face for my younger brother, but I could see her falling apart piece by piece. At night, I could hear her crying through the walls. Sometimes I wanted to knock, to go in and hold her. But I was so broken myself that I couldn't find the strength. My dad didn't even try to hide anymore. He stopped wearing his wedding ring. He stopped eating dinner with us. Some nights he didn't come home at all, and when he did, it was late, and he smelled of Camilla's perfume. He didn't care who noticed. He didn't care how much it hurt us. It felt like I was living in a nightmare, but one I couldn't wake up from. The worst part?
At the
I missed
roundabout,
her.
take the second
Even though she
exit.
had betrayed me in the cruelest way possible, a part of me still longed for the girl who used to braid my hair at sleepovers. The girl who knew every secret I ever had. Sometimes, out of habit, I'd reach for my phone to text her something funny and then remember she wasn't my friend anymore. She was the enemy. And yet, I couldn't erase the years we shared. That's the twisted part of betrayal. You don't just lose the person in the present. You lose every memory you ever shared with them.
In 400
And the
yards,
memories don't vanish.
turn right.
They rot. The final explosion came one night during dinner. It was one of those rare evenings when my dad actually came home. My mom sat across from him, her
Turn
face
right.
pale, her eyes empty. I sat beside my little brother, trying to keep him distracted with conversation,
Turn around
but
when it
he
is
wasn't
safe to do
stupid.
so.
He could feel the tension too. Then my dad spoke. "I'm leaving." He said simply, as if he were announcing he was going to the store. The fork fell out of my mom's hand and clattered against the plate. "Leaving?" she whispered. He didn't even look at her. "I'm moving out. Camilla and I..." That was it. That was the breaking point. I slammed my hands on the table so hard that my brother jumped. "Camilla? You're seriously choosing her over your wife? Over your family? Over me?" My voice cracked, but I didn't care. The rage was pouring out of me. He finally looked at me then, and his face was so cold it made my blood run icy. "You'll understand when you're older." That sentence nearly destroyed me. Because what was there to understand? That betrayal is excusable? That destroying your family for your daughter's best friend is normal? My
Turn
mom broke
around
down
when
sobbing,
it is
and my
safe
little
to do
brother
so.
clung to her, terrified. I stood up,
Recalculating
shaking,
route.
my whole body trembling with fury.
In 400 yards,
"You're not my father anymore,"
turn left.
I spat. "You're nothing to me." He didn't even flinch. He just grabbed his keys, stood up, and walked out the door. That was the night my father left. For weeks after, the house was filled with silence. My mom barely spoke.
In 100
My
yards,
brother asked 1,000
turn
questions I
left.
couldn't answer. And me, I walked around numb, like I was just a shadow moving through the ruins of what used to be a family. But slowly, something inside me shifted. I realized I couldn't let their betrayal define me forever. I couldn't keep letting my father and Camilla control my life, even in their absence. My mom needed me. My brother needed me. And most of all, I needed me. So I picked myself up. I took on extra responsibilities around the house. I started spending more time with my mom, helping her piece herself back together. I helped my brother with his homework, tucked him in at night, made sure he felt safe even when our world was falling apart. It wasn't easy. Some nights, I still cried myself to sleep, clutching my pillow like it was the only thing keeping me alive. Some mornings, I didn't even want to get out of bed. But I did. And slowly, I learned something. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. It transforms you. It strips away your innocence, your illusions, your blind trust. It leaves scars that never fully fade. But it also makes you stronger, sharper, and more aware of what you will never accept again. My father is gone. Camilla is gone. My best friend is nothing but a memory now, one I'll never revisit without pain. But me? I'm still here. And I refuse to let their choices define the rest of my life. Because sometimes the only way to survive betrayal is to rise above it.
If this story kept you hooked until the very end, don't forget to subscribe to Storybar, give this video a like, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us bring you even more stories full of drama, betrayal, love, and life-changing decisions. Don't miss the next one.